Hello, how you doing? I'm Craig Parkinson. You are listening to the Two Shot Podcast. Sit yourself down, pop the kettle on. We're going to have a nice old chat. Who's it with this week? I'm going to tell you right now. How the devil are you? Everything good? Fantastic. It's Thursday. It's the Two Shot Podcast. It's episode 31 with Tom Stocks. We'll talk about him in a sec, but let's talk about you. Thank you so much for downloading and subscribing and joining us and telling your pals. We really appreciate it. So, good. You're here. I'm happy. Also, what I'm happy about was the lovely messages we received for last week's episode with Steve Everts. What a joy. What a story. What stories. I mean, I think we're going to have to do a part 2 with him at some point. I think he's got a lot more to natter about, which I'm sure you're welcome, but we'll get to that later in the year. Also later in the year, if you were listening to BBC Radio 6 Music this morning about 8:40, I think it was, a little announcement was made, and it's something we are working on with a very well-known band. It's going to be the middle of May. I can't tell you too much yet. More next week and more throughout the week. But yeah, look, we've got two extremely... I don't want to say too much. I keep wanting to say their names. Two very exciting guests lined up for 2 live shows. One from the world of film and one from the world of music. And that's all I'm going to say for now. If you heard the announcement today, then happy days. If you didn't, look, we'll repost it and we'll sort it out. You'll know in a few days, but yeah, it's going to be very exciting. Other exciting news, we're at Kendal Calling Festival, as I told you last week, live at Tim Peaks Diner at the end of July. Always a brilliant festival, and we're thrilled and honoured from all at Kendal Calling to be asked and at Tim Peaks. So if you've got tickets, we shall see you there. Let's get on to it, shall we? This week, it's episode 31. It's with 31. I don't know why I sounded like a 1980s Radio 1 DJ then. It's episode 31 with Tom Stocks. And look, a lot of people get in touch and ask if they can come on, or they're in this or they're in that, and they'd like to come on and talk about it. And that's great, and it's all well and good. But sometimes to get somebody on to sell their wares or talk about a certain project, it's not really what we're about. But Tom got in touch, and I listened to a bit of his story. I thought he'd be perfect to come on because of what he's done and what he's creating and what he's carrying on doing. Yeah, so we did it, and it was great. And now this is it for you. I thought this was going to be a short intro. Sorry. Let's get into it. This is episode 31 with Tom Stocks. I'll see you at the end. Enjoy. How are you?
Good.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good start to the day?
Yeah.
I'm all right, man. Yeah, I'm good. We've just travelled down to London. We've got a madcap 2 days as per usual, but got to get these things in.
Yeah, definitely.
What's your relationship like with London?
It's weird because obviously coming from up north, it's a lot of different pace of life, innit, really?
Yeah.
So I've lived here for, 3-4 years now, but I live on the outskirts because I can't stand being in the hustle and bustle of it constantly. I'm here quite a lot in terms of central with meetings and with all that sort of stuff, but I live on top of an hill just so I get a break from it all.
Get a bit of distance.
Yeah.
And where were you born? In Manchester or on the outskirts?
In Bolton.
In Bolton?
Yeah, Bolton.
I know Bolton very well. Yeah. How was it like? What was life like growing up in Bolton?
Yeah, it was all right. It's just is what it is, isn't it? Really, in Bolton, it's just a proper little working class town. Everyone knows quite a lot of people down there. You can just walk down to the shops and you see You see Betty there and Nosy Park who lives on the street, it's fine. But in London, it's not like that, really, is it? You don't really, unless you're in the kind of Soho area and all the places that you kind of create a community. But outside of that, you don't know one, do you? But at least in Bolton, there's that sense of community there, really.
Do you think it's still there now?
I don't know. I don't go back that often, really, but I think it would be. It's very rare that those sort of towns change a lot in terms of the areas that I was, anyway. But I think it's become all. They're trying to modernise it all now. Like back in Bolton, back in the day, there was the marketplace with all the markets, all the hustle and bustle of there. Well, they've just gentrified it all now, and it's all full of Zaras and cinemas and stuff, which is all right. But they're just trying to be the new Manchester.
One high street's the same high street.
Yeah, exactly.
Get the same old things on it.
Get the pound shops from Woolworths back, I say.
Oh, exactly. In fact, where I live now, there was a beautiful old Woolworths, and when all that collapsed, that turned into a pound land.
I used to work in Woolworths.
Did you?
Yeah. Because I was there on the last day of administration, and I remember they were in the warehouse upstairs. They were just like, well, just take what you want. I got about 100 DVDs. I got an Xbox and all that.
Did you?
I was buzzing. I was like, I'd go for that. My year slugging out here as a 14-year-old lad is paid off.
Perfect. That's a nice job, eh?
Yeah, it was all right. Yeah.
And growing up, was it just you at home?
So I was an only child up until I was about 10 or 12, and then my brother was born, and then my sister. So there was quite a big age difference. About 10 years age difference now. But yeah, it was fine because I moved around quite a lot as well because mum and dad split up and all that sort of stuff. So I moved to Eastbourne with my mum for a couple of years, and then I moved back to Manchester. But yeah, so then my brother and sister were born then, and then moved back and lived with them. But then, obviously, I was getting older, so by the time I was 18, I was like, see ya.
Yeah, got to get out.
Yeah, exactly. So,
what was your mum? Was your mum originally from Bolton and moved to?
Yeah, my whole family's from Bolton and Manchester, all that sort of area. And then she moved down to Eastbourne.
Was that for work or just to get some distance?
Well, just to get some distance, you know what I mean. And my mum and dad have always been in the hospitality, so they've both been chefs and things like that. So there was work. They used to work back in the day. What's the way they met? They used to work in all the hotels and stuff. So she knew, and my uncle lived down there as well. So we just moved back down there. At least we had a bit of family down there. But then I was just like, going back to Manchester now.
And was your brother and sister, were they with your mum in Eastbourne too?
No, so my brother and sister with my dad and his partner. So,
right.
They're with them, and then my mum, when I moved back to Manchester, had a little girl as well, with a guy. So, yeah, I've got 2 sisters and 1 brother.
And how does that work? Is the family much closer than it was now with a bit of distance?
Not really.
No,
not really. It's all quite a separated family. It's like the mum's side and then my dad's side. And they never, ever kind of cross over at all.
So what year did you move down to Eastbourne?
I don't know
how old were you, roughly?
I was about 8 when I moved down there.
Right, so you'd started primary school, obviously.
Yeah,
you were,
yeah.
What, year 3-ish,
yeah,
really?
Yeah, so I went all through primary school there, pretty much. I did primary school in Bolton, and then halfway through primary school in about year 3, I went to Eastbourne, and then I came back to Bolton when I was in year 7, so back into year 7. So as I came back into Bolton, I was going into year 8, so...
How did you feel about moving away, sort of in year 3? Because I know what it's like, because my little lad's 6 at the moment, and the thought of not going to school and seeing all his pals... Yeah, it was tough, because obviously that age as well, you just kind of go with the flow, don't you? You do what your mum and dad tell you. So my mum and dad, they never... My mum didn't do it legitimately. She took me and went. Right, okay. So I didn't really know what was going on, but obviously they string you that story. But my nan and grandpa came with me as well, I'm very close with, so at least I had them as well. So I didn't move there, I was completely alienated. Obviously you have to make new friends and stuff like that. But then we had a bit of trouble as I was growing up with this new fella that she had. So then from there, I was just like, nah, enough's enough now. I'm going back to Bolton with my dad. And did you see your dad in that time when you? Yeah, I did, but my mum made it very difficult. Like in terms of because she got cussed. Just like all the court battles and stuff, which I didn't really know about. I was too young to know about. Yeah, of course. Stuff. But you weren't too young to realise that your dad weren't there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we used to have our set times every week, but Mum made it very difficult in terms of that.
So then we just, as I was growing up, I still saw him. It was still in the school holidays. It was like the set 2 weeks that I had with him, and obviously sharing Christmases and stuff like that. It was buzzing for me. I got 2 Christmases when I was younger. But yeah, from there we had a bit of trouble towards the back end, and I was just had enough, and I just went back to Bolton. And because I was put in there as well, my mum wasn't very pushy in terms of my school subjects. So when I was there, I was predicted no GCSEs, nothing.
This is in Eastbourne.
Yeah. Where you sit, your SATs and stuff like that. But then when I moved back to Bolton, my dad just enrolled me into all these after school clubs, kind of get me more climatised back to where we are, and really push my school subjects. And I remember there was this like after school club coming up to my GCSEs, and as an incentive, you go there and do like mock tests.
Yeah.
And if you got over a certain percentage, you do it in the curry house, and if you get over a certain percent, you get a curry, which is good.
Nice incentive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and that was a good way for me to pick up my grades and really kind of push through and get the grades that I needed to go to obviously college and uni.
Do you think it was the breakup and the fracture of that relationship that made it difficult for you at school, or was there something else going on?
There was there was a guy who my mum obviously that has its effects, but you can quite easily block that sort of stuff out in terms of the divorce, the kind of separation and stuff. So yeah, there was that aspect to it as well. But then there was this guy who came into my mum's life who just got out of prison for running over his dad's head in a car. So that was not good. So as I was coming home from school every day, I didn't have my own key, and I actually met this fella. They used to be in the pub all the time during the day. So I had to go to get the key off my mum down the local, and then they wouldn't be ready to go, so I'd have to do my own work in the pub, and it's not the best atmosphere to do own work.
It's not the perfect environment, really, is it?
Exactly. And then, so that's probably why my schoolwork suffered, because it was such a fractured lifestyle down there, and I never had someone kind of being strict with me in terms of my schoolwork, so you can quite easily get away with a lot of stuff. And so yeah, trying to do a maths test in the middle of a blaring pub on a Friday night, it's not the best.
No, it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but did you enjoy school? I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people who didn't particularly get great grades at school, but you know what? They loved going to school. They had great friends. They had a good.
I think in Eastbourne, I've always been quite a social person, so I make friends quite easily because I'm quite a chatty person. So that's no problem to me. So yeah, I think and you always have your ups and downs in schools and that sort of life, don't you? But I think when I went back to Bolton, I think I flourished a little bit more because I had more after school clubs. So I played my rugby, played football, obviously did my drama.
You a big sports fella?
Yeah, big sports fan. Yeah. And obviously going to watch City as well, Man City, and being enrolled into all these different clubs, and it just made it a lot easier and a bit more of a settled lifestyle, and getting more friends and being more sociable. It just helps you a lot more in the future as well. But yeah, back in Eastbourne, I did a little bit. So I've always done scouts. I always did scouts when I was younger.
So the extracurricular stuff you were very busy with.
Yeah, but then with the school stuff, it always took a back seat, especially in Eastbourne. But then when I moved back to Bolton, to find that balance of after school clubs and obviously with just the extracurricular and the school stuff, it just my dad found it very, and Kath, my stepmom, they found it very easy to balance it out for me. Obviously, I was a bit of a terror as well, but yeah, it all worked out in the end, I guess.
So when was drama on your syllabus when you went into sort of secondary school?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and I always did like little bits and bobs. Like when I was first in Bolton, my first kind of spell, I was in the nativity and all that sort of stuff.
The usual.
Yeah, the usual. And then obviously every year you always do in primary. You always do like little shows, don't you? I was always in them. And then back in kind of Bolton and Manchester. Then I still did. That's when my dad put me in the drama clubs.
Was that something that you asked to do, or was it something that he thought?
He thought, because he knew I've always loved it, but because being in the sports crowd like rugby and football, it's never really the kind of. It's always seemed a bit pansy, innit, when in terms of rugby and football players in that sort of circle, in terms of that sort of community as well. So I used to have like rugby training on like Tuesday and Thursday, and sometimes I have to miss it because I was in school shows. I wouldn't tell them that I was in a school show. I'd tell them I was injured or whatever.
Right.
But then eventually I did tell them, and then obviously you get a little bit ripped for it. And then I think after time went on, the rugby team went a bit rubbish, and I was getting more and more into the acting side. So my dad took me out of the rugby kind of back end of when I was like 15, 16, I think I was, and put me in the Octagon Theatre youth group in Bolton. So I started doing that. What
was that? Because of course I know the Octagon well, but what was the youth group there?
Is it called Youth 8? I think it was like Youth 8 or something like that, and it was 13 to 16 year olds. Yeah, I think that's what it was. And it was just something I've never done before, really. I've done obviously in the school shows, but in terms of like doing workshops and stuff like that, and paying like £3 a week or whatever it was ideal.
And was it once a week?
Yeah, it was once a week, and then you do summer shows as well, and then you do the odd shows every now and again, that little show that you can bring your parents to and all that, to see the kind of progress and what that £3 a week goes towards. And then I think I stayed there for about 1.5 years, 2 years, and I really loved it. But then I was really inspired by the teacher there. The workshop teacher was lovely, but she left, and when she left, another teacher came in. I wasn't that into her, and I wasn't that into what she was doing. So then my dad was like, "Oh, let's fork out a little bit more money for you, and go to Stagecoach." Obviously, the big stage schools across the UK, Stagecoach.
You see, all that passed me by. I kind of know of Stagecoach.
Yeah.
But just to pop back, when the new lady arrived at the Octagon, did you feel? Why do you not feel you got on? Was it something that?
I don't know what it was. I think
because in those environments, because I know people have been through the Oddman Theatre Workshop and various other things at Nottingham, and what they got out of it was they didn't feel that it was like school. They didn't feel they were spoke down to. They were spoke on a level. Yeah. So do you think maybe this other woman that came in? I think that's what it was. Yeah. I think when I went there, I had such good fun. I had such good mates there as well. And because obviously as you're getting older as well, in terms of, I was like 15 at this point, obviously you start to fracture off a little bit, and your body's going through changes. You're going through changes,
and you're not wanting to go to the Octagon Theatre on a Thursday night. You want to go to your mate's house, and that's just the way you are as teenagers. So a lot of my mates left as well, and then obviously this new teacher left, and I wasn't enjoying it that much anymore. I used to proper looking forward to going every week. I was buzzing. I was like, what we're going to do this week, and they had a really nice community there, and obviously got free theatre as well, so that was really inspiring. It was really got me on the right track in terms of watching. I remember watching Kane Dingle and Matthew Kelly in a show, and Oh What a Lovely War, and I remember just watching it and going, I love that. I want to do something like that on the main stage, and it was amazing. And then then the new woman came in, and she was a bit older, like, because the one that taught us, she was a lot younger, so she kind of got it, do you know what I mean? Yeah. But then when an older woman comes in, she did kind of speak down to us a little bit, and did I suppose you're right in terms of it was a bit like school, which is I already did school after classes in terms of drama every Monday. I don't want to do that again. I've come here to kind of.
Did it make you feel? I suppose did it make you feel less free?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And they started doing weirder and weirder things. Like there was we used to do a lot of script work and a lot of things like that, and just like shows that you should know about. And then when this new woman came in, she introduced us to like new writing, which is brilliant. And we devised our own show, which I really enjoyed as well. But then after that, it got a bit weird. Like it was all like,
in what way weird?
In terms of like really contemporary. For a 15-year-old trying to do a play, and you're on stage pretending to drown, but like in a very abstract way, it makes you feel very self-conscious, because you know it looks rubbish, and then your parents there nodding and smiling and going, yeah, that was really good, but and then later we still joke about it now. They were like, do you remember you like doing that weird drowning thing on stage? And I was like, yeah, I remember And it was just very out the comfort zone for a 15-year-old lad to kind of do that.
Yeah. And obviously you're very vulnerable at that age. And to do that...
in front of girls as well, do you know what I mean? You don't want to look like an idiot.
And especially when you're supposed to be on the stage and all your inhibitions have gone. You're not supposed to feel vulnerable, you're supposed to feel free.
Yeah.
And it's your space and you're in charge. And there's nothing worse than a tensed-up young lad.
Yeah, exactly.
That's terrible. Maybe she was just pushing... too much too soon.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think in like drama school or uni level, that's absolutely fine. Even college level, dipping the toe in the water with that sort of stuff, absolutely fine. But as a young man in his basically in year 10, that's just not the. I don't think that's the kind of script work we should be working on, because it's supposed to teach you how to be confident in theatre. That's the whole point of theatre and TV and film,
especially
and
at that age.
Yeah, it teaches you to be confident, and whether you go on to do drama or not afterwards. But whether you go on to be a lawyer, whether you go on to be a chef or anything, if you build that social confidence, in which is what drama teaches you, it makes you a better person. But and that's what drama does, and that's why it's a shame it's been taken off the curriculum now. But it does make you a better person in terms of your social technique.
Of course.
And I think doing that sort of script work is a step back, not a step forward.
Sure.
At that age, anyway.
Because even now they say it now at 4, 5 and 6 year olds, if they're a bit shy and introverted, get them into drama.
Exactly.
Get them to do a bit
exactly.
of that. And it does work for some people, and some people, I think you can't push those kids too much.
Yeah.
If they want to open up and blossom, then they will.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to find out what's right for you, I suppose is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
So in a way, that's great. The drowning didn't put you off.
No, it didn't.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So your dad said... How lucky that you were in a position where your dad said, "Look, we can afford to take you to."
Well, yeah, because the thing is, we've always been kind of like not that well off, but and especially when obviously 2 younger kids are born as well. Obviously, the money goes; it's got to be split evenly.
Of course.
But he knew that I didn't really want to do anything else, like. When I was in Eastbourne, I always said I want to be a bricklayer, but that's because it was drilled into us. You weren't ever to aspire more than a certain level of intelligence.
Yeah.
You're a bricklayer, you're a hairdresser. Those are the jobs that you were aimed to go to.
Wow.
But then as I went in more and more, my dad's and my family have always been so supportive of my drama. They always tell you go get a proper job, but they still got to be supportive in some ways. And he knew that it's what I wanted to do. So to kind of pay a little bit extra money for me to go into Stagecoach, which kind of was very daunting for me because I just wanted to do acting, but Stagecoach teaches you singing and dancing. Just
explain to me what Stagecoach is. I think I know, but there'll be certain people listening that won't know.
It's like a stage school for younger kids. They start from anywhere between 3 and 18, basically. And there's little
up to 18.
Up to 18,
right.
Yeah. So it's little classes all the time. And I'd never done anything like that before, apart from like little musicals like Wizard of Oz or Oliver, which I've done when at that age, which is still very daunting because singing and dancing, especially when you're in the rugby team and all that, it's not the best sort of thing.
No, of course you get very self-conscious.
Of course. But then I went on, and he took me down to Stagecoach, and they said, "We'll give you a month free. Let him see how he goes, see if he fits in."
So is this a... Sorry, forgive my ignorance. Is this so you're 15, aren't you now?
Yeah.
Would this be instead of going to school? Would you be there every day?
No. This is like a weekend. This is like Saturday morning. Just a Saturday morning.
A Saturday morning.
Yeah.
All right, I'm with you.
So literally, this is I'm still at school, still at high school doing stuff. But on Saturday morning, I would go to Stagecoach. I think it was 9 till 1, and then you had the option to stay a little bit later if you wanted to kind of work on some stuff.
And was this in Bolton or was this in Manchester?
This is in Bolton.
In Bolton.
Yeah. This is in Bolton. But and it's quite funny because where it was is a place called Horwich in Bolton, which is a very, very posh part of Bolton.
Yeah.
And that's not what I'm used to. And all the people that went there were very, very posh people. Lovely, but you knew you kind of didn't fit into that social scale a little bit.
Were you... I don't know how to say this. Were you made not to feel... Did you not feel accepted?
No, not at all. I wasn't made to feel not accepted, but do you know when you just know. Like,
Do you feel your guard went up because you knew that they were from a different part of town?
Yeah, exactly. And which is fine. And I was never made to feel like I was not there. But when you have those sort of conversations, and they're like, what are they doing that evening? Like going off to the theatre, or they're going off to do stuff that I probably couldn't really afford that much. But that's fine. But then it improved me as a person, and you got to dabble in different social groups to make yourself a better person, to how to deal with different situations.
Of course, yeah.
But then when I went there, like I said, I did that month free, and I felt it was all right.
So did you carry on?
Yeah, I did. I did it for about a year, right up until like Christmas time before my GCSEs, because then I was like, I had to pack it all in, because my dad was like, you need to knuckle down now. And I was like, okay, so. I did it. Yeah, I think I did it. It must have been about. It wasn't about a year. It must have been about 8 months anyway. And it was good. It taught me a bit more how to sing, a bit more how to dance. It had more strings to your bow, as you've got to do as you get into this industry. The more strings you have, the more jobs you get. And that's what I did. And I surprisingly really enjoyed it. I thought it was going to be a bit pansy, a bit girly, doing all these kind of singing and dancing, which I wasn't used to. But I actually really enjoyed it. Like, there was the singing, there was like different classes which I'd never had before, just for singing, just for dancing, just for acting, which was a really big culture shock in terms of that. And I actually really enjoyed it. It got a bit boring at times, but then you've got to understand that's what you get in that sort of education. But yeah, I did that for about 8 months, and we did like a little show. I think we did like little dance, like a dance show and a singing show and a big showcase at the end that you see. Invite all your parents down, and all your friends and family, and it was brilliant because I'd never had that before. My cousin, she was in dance and that sort of school as well, in Bolton, like a little dance school, and they used to have the Royal Albert Hall every year, and it's a massive thing. And I used to love going. I was like, oh, that's my little cousin. Like, it's brilliant that they do that sort of stuff. And for me to go and do the same, I was like, brilliant. And yeah, so it just kind of went from there, really. But then obviously as the GCSEs came in, obviously I had to kind of pack it in for a little bit.
And did you get your head down with GCSEs?
Yeah, then I got my head down. Then I was surprised. I came out with 9 GCSEs in the end.
That's fantastic.
So I was buzzing at. I was predicted none and then going to 9. I scraped them. They were like all C's, and then drama was A.
Still there.
But they were there.
Yeah.
And I was so chuffed. And I really wanted to go to Turton sixth form. That was the one I wanted to go to. And my grades were still a bit iffy for me getting in. Then there was a place called Pendleton College in Manchester, which is a BTEC, and I didn't really know what that meant, but we went to an open day anyway. And it was absolutely amazing. Like, it was just a school just for free, dedicated to you singing, dancing and acting from 9 till 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
I was like, that is for me, because I've never been that academic in terms of doing essays all the time. And I think if I went to Turton sixth form, I wouldn't be able to just take drama. I'd have to take the 2 subjects as well, which I wasn't that keen on. But with the BTEC, I just did musical theatre. I ended up doing musical theatre in the end.
Because when you start a BTEC, and I don't know if this was right at Pendleton, mm-hmm. you have your foundation course, don't you? And then there's another. And then you can do another 2 years, or you can go in at a first year. Can't you?
And
where did you go in at?
I went in at the first year, so I did 2 years there.
Right.
And I went there. Did 2 years of musical theatre, and it was just something that was just amazing, and it had such a high reputation as well. Like, when you go in there, you have to audition to even go in there.
Yeah.
Which is something I'd never done before, because I had to prepare a song, and I had to prepare a little monologue and stuff like that. Which
How did you find that?
Well, I'd never done that before in terms of like
Did you have help
audition.
With that?
Yeah, well, obviously with Stagecoach, I knew some of the teachers there. I was like, can you just help me, because I'd never done this before. And obviously they're used to that sort of stage child in terms of that sort of. I'd never had an audition in my life, apart from like the old school show. It's not really an audition, is it really? So I had to go there, and it was the first like serious audition I've ever done. And I didn't know what monologue to pick. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I think they were like, do you know any any writers that are from Manchester. I was like, Jim Cartwright? They were like, have you ever seen any of his shows? I was like, I think Road was on at the Octagon while I was there, and they were like, well, just do one from that. So I did. And then I've just done, during the summer holidays, Stagecoach were doing like a little musical in Bury, in one of the in the theatre there, and they did Dracula the musical,
right?
Which was just ridiculous.
That well-known musical,
exactly. Yeah. And I was Dracula, and I sung, and I was like, I want to know one of the songs from Dracula, so I just sang that, and I got in. I was like, oh, can't believe it, with the Dracula the musical song, and yeah, and then I started there, and they have like a season of shows. They have 4 musicals a year and 3 plays, and one of them Shakespeare. And I was like, this is amazing. And then they always had the drama schools from London come into the college to audition. So they had RADA, they had Guildford and Mountview coming into the college because of its reputation to handpick people to audition for their school, which is amazing. And that sort of reputation and that sort of way of life and that community was something that I'd never experienced, and I loved it. For that 2 years, that was probably the best training of my life, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And it was going to Manchester every day as well. Obviously, going to Manchester from Bolton, it was good because obviously you could say, oh, I got to college in Manchester, not Bolton. It sounds a bit cooler at that sort of time.
It does, especially when you're an age.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
at that point, Manchester's the place. Isn't it?
When you're in Bolton, they're all still at Turton, and they're like, oh, do you want to come out? So I'm like, no, man, got Manchester tonight. I mean,
how incredible that your dad, when you're just jumping back a bit, when you moved back to Bolton, he went, right, okay, we've got a knuckle down here. Let's get you some tutors. Let's get that sorted. And he also knew to try going to Stagecoach because he knew that's what you wanted.
Yeah.
And then it was there that other things were unlocked for you. You never thought about singing and you dancing before, had you? And that really filled a passion for you.
And he's never had a theatre background in his life. Well, I'm the only person in my family, apart from my little cousin, who did a little bit of dancing, has ever even done drama or even dabbled in drama. They've always been chefs and
your dad never even tried to get you into the hospitality route at all.
Well, I used to I was pot washing when I was 13 in his pubs.
Well, you got to earn the money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and he was always head chef. He's always been. So as he was going in the kitchens, he'd be like, "Do you want to earn yourself 20 quid this week?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Come down to the kitchens and wash these pans in." I was like, "Okay."
So he was trying to instill a good work ethic in you, even when he was young.
100%. I didn't want to do a paper round. Like, I didn't want to do that. I could have quite easily got a paper round, but I didn't want to. It wasn't like good money. It was like £2 an hour or whatever it was. But with the pot washing, like, I'd come in at like 6 o'clock and I'd finish at 11. Obviously, my dad would take me home anyway. And I'd earn myself like 30, 40 quid, which is banging.
And a lot of money for that age.
Exactly, yeah exactly. It wasn't all the time. It was every now and again because obviously pot washes in restaurants come and go like anything. So he used to get me down every now and again, and then as I was doing that, he'd make me do a little bit of prep, like go and chop that carrot over there, or do a little bit of salad prep or whatever. Then I would come in and do desserts and stuff like that. So he'd make me do all the desserts and stuff like that for the restaurant. And then that was kind of like my way in terms of, I knew that as I was at college, I would do college during the week, and at weekends I'd go in and do a little bit of chefing, a little bit of pot washing to make myself some extra dollar on the side. And then I built up a really good reputation with the restaurant that when I was old enough, so when I was 16, 17, I could go and do a bit of waitering as well. Right. So I did that, and I was there for like 3 years, just like on and off all the time. And they were really good to me. It was stressful, like, but it earned me the money, and then I got put on the proper wage and not just like the little backhanders here and there, which I wasn't supposed to get because I was so young.
And you said to your dad, look, or had you even said it to yourself, yeah, this is what I want to do, I want to be an actor?
Yeah, I think At the college level, yes. In school, I was still a bit like leaning what I wanted to do, you know. And then you get the careers advice officer who steer you away from that sort of life because they don't deem it a proper job and not a regular income. So then they're like, "Oh, if you're very good at drama, maybe you could be a teacher."
Sure,
of course. And I was just like, "Yeah, I'll be all right, but I don't want to do that. I want to be an actor."
So do you think your dad, because he sounds like quite a smart fella, was trying to teach you a separate trade as a backhand, just in case everything falls through?
Ever since I moved back, he was like, "You've got to have a plan B. You've got to have a plan B. That acting gigs, like I know that it's not a regular income. It's not. So you need something on the side." So that's why he was bringing me into the kitchens. And when I came to London, my first job was being a chef.
Yeah. But how great that you got a passion for the chefing, though, as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you obviously enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And
because, of course, that's a form of expression and creativity as well.
Of course.
So
yeah, definitely.
There must be something in you that goes, right, yeah, let's sort this out.
And because I've been brought up my whole life, like my dad's a chef, my mum was a chef. They've always worked in hospitals. So I've always been brought up around that atmosphere. So to get me in there was probably the right thing to do because it was easy for me to get in and out all the time and be flexible and not affect my college and schoolwork either. If I had a show on that week, or if I had an essay to write, I just phone and go, "Look, I'm sorry guys, can I just?" And they're like, "Yep, no worries." And it helped that the dad was in management as well.
Of course,
obviously that helped.
Yeah.
But then he left to go on to bigger and better things in terms of chefing. So but I stayed there because he was so good to me. Sort of your ups and downs and all that sort of stuff, but
it's a stressful environment.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, definitely. And so as I was going through college and stuff, that's what I did, and that's how I made the extra money to kind of able to go out and enjoy myself and not be sponging off the bank of mum and dad, which I didn't have anyway.
Yeah.
So to make my own money, it makes you independent, makes you a better man for it, because you've got a regular income that you've earned yourself, and you learn the value of money. That's what I think a lot of people don't understand when at that age, and especially coming into it. If your mum kind of give you dad give you the pocket money all the time, and you're not working for it, then you don't appreciate that your hard work is going into making that money. And I was taught that at a very young age, and I still do it now. And it's made me a better person for it, and have that work ethic to kind of get further in life with everything that goes on.
So, towards the end of your time at Pendleton doing the BTEC, did someone sit you down? Did they say, "Tom, right, what are you thinking now?
Yeah,
where are you going?"
It was always drilled in that everyone had to go to drama school. Everyone. If you're in that musical theatre course, you go into drama school. And I was like,
was it something you wanted to do?
Yeah, I guess at that age, like, if that was the only thing that was offered to me, yeah, it was either. And uni was looked down on as well. There was the odd musical theatre uni like Chichester and places like that where it offered a very good course, but it was always drama school. They were like, "You've got to go. If you're in Pendleton at the end of this 2 years when the drama schools come knocking, you're going to pay your £30 or whatever it was back then, and you're going to audition for these schools." And we were all just like, "Okay, fine." Because we didn't know any different.
And they probably wanted your next level of training,
of course, yeah,
to start.
Yeah, and they probably have something under the table with them going, we'll get everyone in the course to kind of audition for you.
Do you think that?
Yeah, I think
so.
Do
you?
Well, I think if they're coming down and they're coming all the way from London to Manchester, which doesn't happen anymore, there's got to be some sort of... What are they going to get from coming into a college which they don't do in anywhere else? They specifically come into this Manchester college to audition people, and if only 2 people, 3 people turn up, then they're not going to make any money. So I mean, I don't know. I'm just making speculation now, but there's got to be some sort of...
I'd just like to say that is an allegation from Tom, and nothing to do with us at the Two Shot Podcast.
Yes, of course.
Well, you know, you're entitled to your opinion. I wasn't there. I don't know. But if that's what you believe, did you investigate that in any way? Did you speak to any other people about that?
No, not at all. It was just... But obviously, with the reputation that we had as well, obviously... They're coming down for a reason because we've got reputations and...
For excellence?
For excellence, yeah. And if you go into Arts Edge, you go into Mount View, you go into RADA, you go into all those sort of places, they'll know Pendleton. They'll know that is the school in Manchester you got to go to, and they'll handpick people from because of its excellence. And because of its high quality training that they give over that 2 years, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And they give you industry ready training at such a young age as well, and it was free. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah. Them were the days.
They were the days.
So
yeah.
they come down, and do you audition in front of them, or
they put you in the theatre, because the Pendleton had 2 theatres, which is really odd for a college. They had the big Christopher Eccleston Theatre, and then they had the other theatre on the side.
So it was called the Christopher Eccleston Theatre.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So they sit you down there, and you're all sat there and waiting for your audition and things like that, and you go in there and do your song and your monologue. But at that point, I'd realised I didn't want to do musical theatre anymore.
Right.
Because coming through Pendleton, like, I could move and I could hold a tune, but I was not like West End standard, which some of the people in my school were at that age. And I was like, and I was always known for my acting. I started, like, in my first year, I was doing all the musical theatre shows, and then towards my second year, I was like, I'm going to dabble in the acting a little bit more, in the PA stuff. And I got into a play there called Journey's End, and The Crucible we did. And I was like, I think I like this a bit more than just singing and dancing.
Well, it always takes time, whatever route you go down, to find what your thing is and who your people are.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 100%. And that's what I wanted to do. I think I did Journey's End, and it was just like 6 lads, and we had a really close bond with each other, and it was amazing. Like, over that kind of 4-week period that we were rehearsing, they were making us really go into this play. They took us down to some field or some park in Manchester, and they made us like army training. They made us do army training. And I remember, because I was the German in it, I was the Nazi, and they were all the English. So I had to go and run away in this forest, and they had to find me, like a manhunt. And they found me, and the teacher was with them, and they got a bit method on it. And it was an interrogation scene that I was in, and he was like, "Go and interrogate him." And they grabbed me. They put a bag over my head. They led me around the park for about 20 minutes, not knowing where I was going. They let me down in front of this pond, and they kept dunking my head in the water. Just not like, but just like little bits to kind of know how it would feel.
Were you fully submerged underwater?
Little bits, yeah, like definitely, but for like 2 seconds. It's just to know how it would feel to be in
still.
that sort. But yeah, exactly. Those, but I loved it. I loved that. It's never something I'd done before, and I was like, I was scared. Like, I was at the end of it, I was like, "What'd you do that for? What'd you do that for?"
But obviously, there was a sense of trust there.
Yeah, definitely. And they did a lot of trust exercise before that. There was, again, when we went to the park just before that, we had to go into this. There was just this swamp in the middle of the park, and they were just like, "Build a raft." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "There's some wood. Build a raft."
This was the director doing all this.
Yeah, and I was like, we were like, "All right," so we had to go into this horrible swamp in the middle of like September, and just do this like army training stuff, which was quite off the books, I would say, in terms of like that.
Yeah, you've got to be really careful with that kind of shit, I would say.
Especially I was 17 at the time. Do you know what I mean? But it's something that I'd never done before, and I really enjoyed it, and I'd never had that sort of experience before, and I was like, yeah.
So new things were being unlocked in you,
definitely.
and certain other things were being suppressed.
Which is what I wouldn't do in musical theatre. Like, it was all dancey, nicey, which was fine.
But maybe that was, at that time, the year before, 2 years before that.
Yeah.
That was great for you.
Yeah.
But maybe you've grown up a bit more and you thought, actually, no, this is more me. I feel more comfortable. I thought I was comfortable over there, but actually no. This is for me.
Because obviously in that sort of industry as well, and that time, you're very competitive. You are at that sort of age. I mean, at any age you're competitive in this industry, but at that age especially, you want to be better than your mate. You want to you want to get the lead part, and you want to go, I got a lead part, blah blah blah. This is what you are, and they make you competitive, and it's a good thing in some ways. It keeps you on your toes. I think it can go too far sometimes. But I knew that as a musical theatre performer, I was nowhere near the standard of some of my other kind of the pupils in that place.
Yeah.
I knew I couldn't be hitting those top notes as good as my mate Linford, for example. And that was fine. But that means... But then some people got a bit down about it. Like, some people go, oh, it's just not for me anymore.
But you have to find out what the best qualities are within yourself.
Exactly.
And you're still learning, remember? You're still at the start of the training.
And I knew in that first year, I was always known for kind of being the kind of actor of the group, whereas everyone else was either the singer or the dancer.
Sure.
And I wasn't that thing. I could still move, I could still hold the tune, I could sing, but I knew I was like, well, let's play to my strengths here. Let's not kind of go down this route, which I won't have a career in. Let's go into acting, which is what my tutors were always wanting me to do. That's fine. So I still had to do my musical theatre course for the second year, which is fine. But instead of doing the musical theatre shows, I went into doing the acting shows instead, which is very odd for people to make that crossover as well. Is that it was always musical theatre did musical theatre, the acting course did the acting course.
Never the twain shall meet.
And it was always a bit of rivalry. Never would they cross over.
What was the rivalry?
Not like healthy rivalry.
Right.
It wasn't like we're like musical theatre and the
we don't speak to them.
Have a punch up outside. It's not like that at all. But it was always like healthy rivalry in terms of that, and they used to call us all twirlies and all that sort of stuff, it was fun. But it was very rare for us for kind of a musical theatre person to go into the acting, and the acting's kind of comes to the musical theatre. It happened every now and again, but it wasn't the norm. But I was just like, I got on really well with my acting teachers, and I went to try out for the acting shows. And I got into the Crucible and the Journey's End, and never looked back really. And I was just like, so when the drama schools did come knocking, I was like, I don't want to do the musical theatre course, I want to do the acting course. And I did my auditions. I got on the waiting list for Birmingham School of Acting, which I was over the moon with. But I was the youngest in the year, one of the youngest.
Right.
So I was, as everyone was 18, I was 17, because obviously my birthday's in August. So for a 17-year-old to be auditioning for drama school was very daunting, and they can see how young I was. And I was very young. I still got a bit of a baby face now. But
you have, yeah. In a good way.
Yeah. But having a baby face going to drama school, they can tell how young you are. And they were like, we want to offer you places, but I think you need to wait a year and just mature a little bit, because you're so young and this is such an intense course for 3 years. We don't think you're going to be ready. And I took that on board, and I was like, okay. But I was to be in the guy. I'm like, I'm ready. I want to go. I'm ready.
And it comes up again, the arrogance of youth.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've all been there, man. We've all been there.
It's like, no, I'm ready. I'm sick. I'm so good. Like, and your ego just takes over a little bit. And I waited for Birmingham. I really wanted to go to Birmingham. Like, I knew how of a good course it was. And then I got my letter through, and they were like, sorry, you've not got your place. And I was gutted because it was slap bang in the middle of August as well, and I was like, I've got no options. I don't want to take a year out because I'll just lose momentum where I'm going. So,
did you feel that you would lose momentum, or do you think that was at the time? Do you think it was an excuse?
No, I didn't. I just think in that year, because it was because they told me so late, I had no options. It was either I work in Woolworths for a year, or with my dad in the kitchens. And then I just didn't know what I'd do on the side. Like, I didn't want to go back to the Octagon. I didn't want to. it's not that I felt better than that, I just felt like I outgrew that part of my life, and I didn't want to go back and...
Well, you don't want to be taking a back step,
Yeah,
do you?
exactly, yeah. I thought I'd done there, I've come out the other side, I did Stagecoach, I came out there the other side a better person, I've done college now, and I've come out there a better person, so I'm improving all the time, and then for it to just, as my path and my momentum carried on, for it to just go bump, I was just like, So my dad was like, why don't you go to uni? And I was like, no, I was told at Pendleton, uni's not an option. It was looked down on, and it still is to this day. Uni's looked down on in the industry sometimes, because it's not an accredited drama school. It's not Mount View. It's not RADA. It's not all those sort of places that kind of give you a name to get agents and casting directors to see you haven't got that drama school on your CV. And I was like, no, I've got to go to drama school. Got to go. And he's like, well, you got to take a year out then. No, I can't do that either. Well, what are you going to do? Don't know.
So what did he do?
And then there was the UCAS clearance, that scheme. So he showed me this, and I was like, okay. And there was this film school in Wales that was opening. They had a drama course there. And they were pumping 14 million into this new international film school in Newport, which is just near Cardiff. And I was like, oh, okay. I had a bit more of a look into it, and it wasn't open until halfway through my first year.
Right.
So I was a bit like, so I'm not even going to get in there straight away, blah, blah, blah. But then I looked into it more of what this film school was going to do, and the equipment that they had, and the facilities that they had, and I was like, okay, that looks good. I've never done film acting before.
Was this a course solely about screen acting?
It was different. It was because it was in a lot of I think in a lot of drama school courses, you do like little modules on film, don't you?
Well, I did very, very little about screen acting, and I don't know if it's changed. But,
well, in drama schools, yeah, I think there's the odd module on film acting, whereas this is sort of like 50-50. So you do theatre and film merged into one, but it's not a little bit, it's a lot. And also, again, I didn't want to do too much of the academic side, which is what drama school as well, because it was, again, solely based on performance. But they said it was 60-40 in performance's favour. And I was like, okay. And I was like, okay, let's give it a go. And also, obviously, with unis, you get help with the government funding, which I didn't take into any consideration about drama school. I didn't even think about that I wasn't, at that point, able to get government funding for drama schools at that point. So I was like, oh, probably wouldn't be able to go anyway. So, I went to Newport, I did an audition there, and I got in, and I was like,
cool. So you still had to audition then?
Still had to audition, yeah. I had to do... it wasn't as intense as the drama school auditions, that you just went in there with one monologue and that's it.
And was this... were you applying for a 3-year course?
BA course, yeah. And it was a performing arts course. It wasn't an acting course, it was performing arts. I was like, okay, let's give it a go. So I started there in September.
So you packed up... Moved to Wales.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I didn't want to stay again because I was hit 18. I was like, I'm not staying in this house anymore. I can't stay in this house. I've got a little brother and sister there screaming their head off, and I need to get out. So I was like,
you're 18. You're going through shit exactly, in your own space. Yeah, exactly. I understand.
So I was like, okay, let's go. So I went to uni, and it was all right. And I had a bit of a trouble adapting in terms of the academic side as well, because it is academic. And I think like 3 months in, I was like, I'm going to drop out. I can't stand it. We're not doing what I thought we were going to be doing. We're not doing that much script work. We're not doing this, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to quit, and I'll just wait till drama school. My dad sat me down again, as usual. He's like, no, stick at it. Just get to the end of your first year. Look, you've not even got into the new school.
Because your dad's a hero.
Yeah,
he's always there.
Yeah. And he's like, you've not even got to the new school yet. And I was like, okay. So it got to just after Christmas. The school was opening. and the facilities there were brilliant. They had 3 film studios, they had a little theatre, dance studio, lecture halls, they had a library in there, it was open plan, they had all the Macs in there, all the editing suites. I was just like, finally, this is it. And then within that first month, you started doing little film projects. And because they had the MA film students there, they had the BA film students there of first, second, and third year. They were like merging us together, which is what I loved. I was like, brilliant! So you can make some brilliant contacts here as well. And even when they're not part of the film course, you're like, trying to make a little short film. Yeah, let's go and do it. And there was always options for you just to keep kind of being in little films all the time and keep acting all the time.
Carry on being creative in some
100%,
form or another.
Whereas, because with unis as well, you don't get as much tutor time in unis. That's well known in terms of drama schools. You're there till like 9 till 6, or even not 10 at night. Do you know what I mean? In unis, it's like 16 hours a week.
Yeah,
which is in the first kind of half I was there my first year. That's what I hate, and I was like, I've got so much free time, not doing anything. I'm lucky that I was working. I could get some dollar in, but I was like, this is not what I'm paying. Luckily at that time it was $3,000 a year. This is not what I'm paying $3,000 a year for. I'm not getting my money's worth. I'm getting 16 hours a week of tutors. Like, it's nothing. Then when the film school opened, it all changed, because when I wasn't in lectures, I was doing little films, and I was getting well known with the third year acting students who were coming up to their end of year shows, and they were looking for people to kind of be in their third year shows, in their little, because you do like hour-long shows at the end of your course,
right?
And they would cast people from like second and first years. And I heard these were going on, and I was like, let's get in there and make some friends and see if I can get in their shows. And I did, and I was really happy that because I was doing a lot of film back then. I wasn't doing much theatre, because it was all based film. So I did a theatre show in the local theatre, which is the Riverfront Theatre there, because all your shows got taken from the uni and just got put into the local theatre.
Okay.
You did your exams. And I loved it. I was like, oh yes, I'm in a show, in a third year show as well, so I can get people to see me in these third year shows and I'm a first year. And as that went on, I did more and more films. I did more and more like little theatre things, and also I was getting more to grips with the academic side, which I never thought I'd do.
So you were feeling settled, you're feeling more grounded.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you ever feel at any point you were, in retrospect, you were running before you can walk?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think I went in there with such high expectations, because I was so used to drama school and so used to doing a full-time kind of performing course, really.
Sure.
Back in college.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a big culture shock to me to kind of just sit there and listen to lectures all the time, and I was just like, and learn about the renaissance of theatre, and I was just like, I'm not really that bothered.
So did you ever think, when a drama school said, maybe you should wait another year, do you think there's any truth in that now, looking back on it?
Yeah, definitely. I think, definitely.
Because at that point, you've got to be open to everything, and you've got to be like a sponge, and knowledge is coming at you from, if it is in the form of performance, or you're sitting at a lecture, or you're reading, or you're watching. Yeah, it's
definitely.
There. You've just got to drink it in, I suppose.
Yeah, and I was never used to kind of, apart from school, but in college, I never had someone just sit there at the front of a classroom and just kind of preach all this knowledge to me, which we had to make notes on and all that sort of stuff. I was never used to that.
But you've got to change everything.
Exactly.
You've got to be adaptable,
and it came to kind of, and I was just like, I just sat down one evening, again with my dad, and he's just like, listen, you got to take it all in. This is an academic course as well. It's not just performing. You've got to do the academic side, or you won't graduate. It's quite simple. Otherwise, you've just wasted your money. I was like, okay. And I started to kind of really get involved in the kind of academic side. Then I started like Like when it was just, I was just like, back of the class, like folded arms, like head down, just like, oh, yeah, whatever. And everyone else like asking questions and all that sort of stuff. And when I came back, I threw myself into it a little bit more, and I started asking questions. And I started when we started learning about kind of Beckett and Sarah Kane and all those kind of playwrights, and Simon Stevens, all those sort of people we were learning about. I was like, okay, these plays sound quite interesting. It's stuff that I've never really learnt about either. They're all very weird and wonderful plays.
Because they were speaking to you in a way.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd never read those sort of plays before. And again, I'd never really read plays. I was in college. We never really read plays, apart from maybe the old like script reading. But in uni, they were like, you have to read these plays because you're going to be questioned on them, and you're going to be doing little scenes from them as well. So you're going to have to read it.
In a way, you should just read them anyway.
Oh, of course, yeah, definitely.
There's certainly 3 playwrights there that you're reading that are kind of essentials that should be on a reading list. 100%. Full stop.
Yeah, definitely. But I'd never had that. I'd never had someone kind of tell me to read a play, and nowhere through my kind of upbringing has anyone ever told me to read a play.
Did you never want to read a play?
I think I did, but then I think I was just so busy with like everything, like after school stuff and my GCSEs, and when I was in college, I was there at 9 o'clock in the morning till 6 at night, and then you started rehearsals for your show, which was 6 till 10. So I never had time to kind of sit down and read a play. And then when I was on the bus, I just fell asleep.
Sure.
I was just sleeping.
No, I understand that.
So I just never had like a kind of break. And then also I was working at the weekends and in the kitchens and stuff. So I never had a chance to read a play. But in uni, I had that time. I had that time on my hands. I certainly did. So I started reading Sarah Kane. I started reading the Simon Stevens. I started reading all those sort of playwrights. And I was like, okay. And I discovered Beckett. And I was like, oh, I love Beckett. I was waiting for Godot and all that, and it just really appealed to me. And I never thought the weird and wonderful stuff of the drowning in the Octagon would actually now appeal to me as going, oh, I actually want to do that sort of stuff. Right. So then I started going through uni, started doing obviously more and more films, more and more theatre shows, and obviously developing myself as that. But again, the academic side surprised me the most, because then when it came down to my 3rd year, and I knew this dissertation was coming, this 10,000 word dissertation. Ever since I started, they were like, just to let you know, you've got 10,000 word dissertations to do at the end of your 3rd year. And I was like, oh my God, 10,000 words. I don't think I've ever spoke 10,000 words in my life.
And was that a free dissertation, or was it?
Yeah, you could write your own.
You could write your own.
So it got to a point, and when they were like, you need to pick your subject. And everyone was doing the same thing, like, what is the key to method acting? And
but was the method taught there?
No, it wasn't. But people were still.
They have no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they were educated enough
to write a dissertation.
To write a dissertation on that.
But yeah, everyone was doing the same thing in terms of like feminism within theatre and all that sort of stuff. And I didn't want to write about that sort of stuff. Sitcoms has always been my passion, and I've always been quite interested in politics as well. So I went to my tutor, we had a sit down, they're like, what are you thinking about writing a dissertation on? And I was like, I want to do something about sitcoms. I was like, I've always loved Only Fools and Horses, my favourite show of all time. I've always wanted to write something about that. And Thatcher and that sort of era has always intrigued me in terms of what went on and the kind of working class social movement and all that sort of stuff. So I came up with the idea. I was just like, I'm going to write about 3 sitcoms in the 80s, which was affected by Thatcherism, which reflected Thatcherism within sitcoms.
And those sitcoms were?
So they were The Young Ones, Yes Minister, and Only Fools and Horses.
Right.
And I compared them all, and I started writing more and more, and I was like, I actually don't find this a burden anymore. I actually really enjoy writing this.
Because you're obviously writing something that you're passionate about.
Yeah, and I think people, when they were doing their dissertations, they got bored very quickly because they didn't know about the method. They didn't know about things like that because they hadn't been taught it, and they don't.
But surely they shouldn't have been allowed to write things like that.
It was freedom, wasn't it? And
but you need to have some sort of knowledge.
Yeah.
Before you dive into that, you're saying, I was very passionate about these sitcoms and about this sort of era and the social class at that time in history. So therefore, I'm going to delve into that a bit more and find out about it.
Yeah, and people just, you could tell that people were getting bored of it, and they just stopped writing. And because they get bored, they'll go out and party. Whereas I really enjoyed it, and I was like, I had to read these big political books, and I was like reading like Politics for Idiots, because I was just like, I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And these big, like, thick books, which I'd never even thought I'd ever read in my life. But I did mind. And I really enjoyed it, and learning about those sitcoms and learning about that world was really, really intriguing for me. I've never condoled what Thatcher did or anything like that, but I actually, as a person, I found her very, very captivating as a woman, and the first female prime minister, and the way she would just take she would just like stand up to all these men, and she would just, I don't know, I just always found it very interesting, but obviously with her policies and stuff I didn't agree with.
Yeah, we're not going to.
We're not going to
get into that.
No. But then I saw, as the 80s went on, these sitcoms, like with the young ones, was the development of Thatcher. I think that was a Thatcher baby, and it just really interested me. And
so you finished it. You finished the 10,000 words.
I finished it, yeah. And I got a 2-1 for it, which I never thought I'd do. Which is basically like a B or an A or like an A minus or whatever it is for an academic piece of work ever, coming out with scraping a C in English in GCSE. Never would I thought I'd get that in an essay.
That's great, and what an achievement.
Yeah, so I was buzzing about that. And then as my third year went on, and as this dissertation went on, and as I was doing these shows and these films, I was just lacking that training of an actor. I think we never really got trained to be actors. We did shows, we did different techniques by different practitioners, but we never really delved into acting.
Right, so your need and complete sense, but your need and your want and your passion to learn and to be an actor was still there after those 3 years.
Yeah, and I.
So what was the next step?
I wanted to do an MA in drama school. I was like, as my third year went on, and as I was in uni, I very much realised that as much as I enjoyed myself, I didn't actually further. I furthered my knowledge, but I'd not actually furthered my career, because in drama schools you're put in front of industry professionals all the time. In your third year show, you're getting agents to come watch you. You're getting casting directors. You're getting all these people who will further your career. Now, a little uni in Newport, which has basically just opened, has got no contacts whatsoever. So in no way, shape or form will a casting director, an agent or anything come and watch my third year show. So I got to that point and I was like,
Did you feel downhearted at that?
A little bit, yeah, because I invited agents and casting directors to come down, and they were like, no, sorry, Mount View's shows at the same time. No, Arts Edge shows at the same time. The Royal Welsh in Cardiff, sorry, their shows at the same time. So I was like, great. I've just been completely discarded by industry people.
But even at that time, you know, things like that aren't the end of the world. There's obviously always another route.
Yeah, definitely. And there was this girl in uni that was looking into the same thing, like into drama schools. And when I was in uni, no one really was bothered about drama school. Everyone from my course, I think, was not really that serious about acting, because they kind of were all there to kind of want to be teachers. Most of them kind of wanted to steer off to that academic route rather than the performance side of it, which is what I'd say 3 or 4 of us actually really loved.
And also some people go to uni for the 3 years to decide where it is and what it is they want to do.
Yeah,
but they're just going to give themselves that 3 years.
And so many people dropped off, and so many people started dossing around and started taking the party lifestyle a bit more seriously than their academic lifestyle, which is what uni is, isn't it, sometimes?
There's always time for that.
Exactly. And I knew in my third year it was time for me to knuckle down, not go out and party. That's what first and second year were for. Third year is time to knuckle down. So I decided, I was like, let's give the drama schools another go. I'm 21 now. I've matured like they said they wanted me to do. Let's go and give it a go. And I want to get that drama school on my CV to kind of further my career. So I went back to all the drama schools. And then I realised that the fees have gone up from paying £30-40 for my first round of auditions when I was 17, have now jumped up to £50, £60, £70, and I was like, wow, that is an inflation over 3 years. But you can't just audition for one; you have to audition for more than one to kind of get the best help possible. Of
course.
So I auditioned for a few. I had a lot of interest in me. But you know, when you go to drama school, that I never really believed it until this second round of auditions, is that you don't choose the drama school chooses you in terms of where you fit in. And I went to Mount View and Guildford and Artsed, and I was like, I don't feel that comfortable here. I'm not that bothered. But then I went to East 15, and I really felt like I fitted in there. It just not in terms of like the pupils. That's not what I mean. I mean just in terms of like the feel of the place, the buzz, the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And the teachers. And there was a really inspirational teacher there called Andrea. And when I did my audition, she was just different to any teacher that I've ever had. So in my audition, when I did my Shakespeare, for example, I was a bit ridiculed in some of my other auditions, like, why have you chosen to do Shakespeare in Northern accent? It should be an RP. And I was like...
Who said that to you? At what drama school audition do you remember? That was
in Guildhall.
Right.
And I was like, no. But I was like, okay, I'll take your opinion on board. And I went into East 15 with an RP accent, doing my Shakespeare monologue, and she was like, you're from Manchester?
Why aren't you doing it in a Northern accent?
She was like, what are you doing? I was like, what? She was like, do it in your own accent, please. I was like, oh, okay. And she was like, she was like, there you go. Do you feel more comfortable doing it now? And I was like, yeah, I do. And I think a lot of terms in terms of Shakespeare, it puts a lot of people off who are not used to the RP accent. If you hear Shakespeare in RP accent, it puts me right off in terms of... It intimidates me. It really does intimidate me. Sometimes, and I really don't... It's become the norm now to do Shakespeare in RP. But when she said that I could do my Shakespeare in a Northern accent, oh my God, I felt such relief. I felt like I could
and
do
also,
it.
you know, if you haven't seen a lot of Shakespeare, or indeed if you have, the language can be quite intimidating.
Yeah, definitely. And I loved it. I was like, yes, brilliant. So I did it, and I got a recall, and a few months, and I got in, and I was buzzing. I was like, yes, I got in. I remember being in. I was working at Costa Coffee at the time in uni, and this was like literally the back end of uni now that I've just found out I've got into drama school to do the MA, and I was in the middle of Costa Coffee.
Don't keep saying Costa Coffee, because
I
feel that was
sorry.
No, I'm joking. It's fine.
And I was just washing some cups at the back, and my flatmate James rang me and was like, "Your letter's here." I was like, "Oh my God, I felt like I'm going to Hogwarts." And he was like, "Can you come and get it?" And I was like, "I can't, I'm in the middle of a shift." I said to my manager, I was like, please. It's in the middle of Saturday, busy Saturday afternoon. I was like, please, it's an hour. I need an hour, and I'll get a taxi there, and I'll come back. Just like, you can't go. I was like, for God's sake. And I rang my mate James, like, mate, I'll pay you a tenner if you come and give it to me right now. I was like, I need to know. I can't work. I'm not in the right mind state to even work now. I need to know if I've got into this drama school. And he brought it to me, and I opened the letter up, and I just remember collapsing to my knees in the middle of like Costa, and like just breaking down in tears and going, yes, I'm here. I've got the drama school, which is what I've always wanted to do. My dream, I can finally do my dream that I wanted. And was brilliant. But then, again, because it was the end of uni, this was like, May, June time. Obviously, you start drama school in September. Now, with MAs, you don't get any government funding whatsoever. So I've now got between May and September to find £12,000.
But you did know that, didn't you? You didn't know that you weren't going to get government funding.
I didn't. I was so naive. I don't know why. I thought I just hadn't looked into it.
Right.
I just thought, oh, I'm sure I can get, because I heard that you can get funding for 4-year courses. So I just assumed that I'd be able to get a little bit more money from the government to kind of help me pay for my MA.
So what was the next step then?
So I went to the open days, and I was saving. I was working.
These are the open days at East 15?
Yeah. And at that point I was saving, and it got to like 2 months before, and I had about £4,000, if that. And I was like, this is heartbreaking. I'm going to have to... And I heard about these deferrals, that you can defer your place for a year. I was like, I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to. I have to go to drama school. I have to do it. I was like, I felt I just needed to do it. And so I did. I deferred my place. And what I'd done previous is I'd done panto in my last year of uni.
Right.
And I was going to do it for free. But it was in like the main theatre there. And I was one of the dancers in it. And I was like the head dancer. And I said to them, I can't do every show because I've still got to work. And I was doing 2 jobs, working at Costa and I was working in the hotel. I was like, I need to earn money. I can't do this for free. I'm really sorry. So I can only do 1 show on, 1 show off. And they were like, you can't do that. And I was like, well, I can because you're not paying me. So they went away and they said, we'll pay you. I was like, brilliant. So in my final year of uni, I was doing the panto and I was doing my 3rd year show. So it wasn't a lot, but it was still enough to get me by.
Were you intentionally holding them to ransom then, or was that just
no, not at all. It was just I was physically going, I cannot do every single show because I have to work. I wasn't expecting them to pay me. I was in no position. I was a nobody for them to demand me pay.
Yeah.
But I made it very clear that I've got to live. I've got to eat. And you've
got to save for this MA.
And I've got to do 6. There's 6 weeks there at Panto, 8 weeks, whatever it was, which I can't work in, and I can't live for my student loan. I just can't do that because that pays my rent, and that's about it.
Yeah.
That's how much it gets me. And they were like, "Okay, we'll pay you." It wasn't a lot. I think it was like £300 a week, which is what I was making anyway from Costa and the hotel. So because I was doing that. That made me a little bit of money, so that's where the kind of £3-4 came from. Because I saved that and a little bit over for my student loan. And then fast forward when I deferred my place for the year, they wanted me back for the next year, so they paid me a little bit more to be a bit more of a role in it and an ASM. So I was like, this is my perfect opportunity to save a little bit more while I defer my place. So over Christmas, again, and I moved back to Manchester at this point. I went after uni and moved back to the parents, you know what I mean, to save a bit of money.
Yeah.
Which I was really reluctant to do so, because I was like, I don't want to go back.
I know, but if you need that money for the MA, you do anything.
Exactly, you make sacrifices.
Yeah,
so for 6 months previous to doing the second round of Panto, I was working in Bury Market.
Great market.
Yeah, world famous.
Yes.
Just earning and saving. And then I did Panto, saved a little bit of money. But then I felt like I had done acting a little bit of a while. I've done acting. I've done Panto, but I wasn't not really acting in Panto in terms of to feed my kind of acting creativity need. So I went to Edinburgh Fringe. I was like, it's always been a bucket list of mine to do, just kind of do a check. And there was a theatre company who I met when I was in uni, going out to Edinburgh doing Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula. And they were doing it in a really weird way. They wanted me to play Renfield and Dr. Seward, but as a split personality. And I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. That sounds banging. Let's do that.
And they were all funding that themselves?
Yeah, themselves. But then when we were going out to Edinburgh, we had to pay for our accommodation. We had to pay for everything.
I only know certain comedians that, have been going to the Fringe for years, and you don't make money there, you lose money there.
But I didn't realise that at the time, and then
so you were doing it, you were going up there and doing it?
Doing it, so I had to dip into the drama school fund. So...
we know that now, but what a mistake.
Yeah, definitely.
So you made a loss of how much?
Background.
Well, it's not that... No. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, definitely. So I went up there and did that, but as I was doing this, I was writing off like funding applications. I was trying to get money from the council. I was trying to get money from Julie Walters, Ian McKellen, who I knew. So
you were writing to other people, as a lot of people do, and it comes up on the podcast quite a lot. Was there no way, and I don't know, was there no way that you could extend your student loan by anything? Or
so there was one thing I could do. I couldn't extend my student loan, but I could go to the banks and I could ask for a career development loan, which is I would get £10,000.
Right.
Which is brilliant until you read the terms and conditions. Then you start paying it back a month after you finish your course, £200 a month for 5 years. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Then old dad comes and sits me down. I'm like, do you realise that is going to financially set you back and for so many years? And I was like, yeah, but Dad, I'm going to go to drama school. It's my dream. I tried saving for a year. It's not worked. I've worked every hour under the sun. I remember I was a full-time chef at this point as well. I was working 40, 50 hours a week. And I was like, Dad, this is my only way. This is the only way I can go. No one's replying to me to give me money from the council. No famous actors or anything like that. They're not replying to me. And East 15's just giving me £500 for a grant. That's it. I was like, there's no other way. And he was like, you need to sit down and look at this in black and white. He's like, that's £200 every month for 5 years. Then you've got to put your rent on top of that. Then you've got to put your bills. Then you've got to put living. It's not possible. And I was like... And this was around Christmas time. And I was just like... I'm just chasing a dream I can't afford. So I literally...
So did you succumb to it then? Did you went, right, it's not happening?
Yeah, after this is the second deferral. I just packed in. I was just like, it's not going to happen. So I just didn't know what to do. I was just like, I've got no drama school training. I've got a uni course and 2 professional credits of panto.
And you're back home.
And I'm in London now.
Oh, you're in London now?
I moved to London during that time period because my girlfriend lived in London. So I came down here.
So you moved down to London while she was saving or after you'd made the decision?
After I made the decision. So at Christmas time, I was like, boom, going to move to London. Let's try and give this a go.
So what did you think you were going to do when you moved down?
I just knew at the time in Manchester, there was nothing for me there at that point. I don't think there wasn't a very thriving theatre scene. Media City had just opened up, and I was like, let's check this out. Did
you never sort of write to the Royal Exchange or anything like that?
I did, but I didn't know how to get in there. I didn't know. In terms of me being an actor, apart from joining their youth group, which is all they offered me.
You didn't want to just write to the casting director and just say, look, can you meet me for a cup of tea? This is my situation. No, I didn't. Because I didn't know how. I've never been. Yeah, I just never done it really. I just don't know why I didn't do that. But I went. So anyway, you moved to London with your girlfriend.
But I'd looked at Media City and I thought that would be a new opening because I'd seen this been building over for like 5 years after being in Manchester and stuff. But there was actually there was nothing there in terms of they promised all this new writing and bringing everything to the north, whereas it was actually all they put there was kids' TV, sport, and the news, and I was like, and Coronation Street, and I was like, oh, it's not really opened up many doors for a lot of people. So yeah, that was my final shot in terms of I thought Media City was going to save me, but it didn't. So I thought, right, I'm going to go to London. And I had quite a lot of friends in London as well, who from Pendleton, who have now come out the other side of drama school and are working in the West End. So I came down to London, and it came to a point where I thought, I've clearly got some sort of talent. I can act. But every time that I've tried to get through a door, it's always been about money. And every step of the way, it seemed to always be about money. Whether it was a panto, whether it was the drama school fees, whether it was the uni fees, whether I couldn't afford to go on a trip, everything. It just all came down to money at the end of the day. So I started kind of writing some blogs. I started kind of saying, is there anyone that feels the same? Is there other people that this money barrier has prevented them from doing anything?
Just for a way for you to express yourself, you wrote these blogs?
Yeah. And I put them on kind of like Twitter and Facebook and things like that, but people started to take to it. So I started using the hashtag, which I made up, called Actor Awareness. And from there, people were kind of going, yeah, I feel exactly the same. I'm in the same boat. What should we do about it? Blah, blah, blah. And I started getting a bit mouthy. I started, like, calling drama schools out. I started going, why is it so expensive for these audition fees? In no other industry do you have to pay for an audition, for an interview. Like, why do you pay that? And just all the anger that I've been building up over my life in terms of, like, me not being able to get in the industry because of money. I just kind of, like, splurted it out for about 6 months. And I started kind of, people, I could get a following for it. I started getting a following. And the Stage picked it up. And they wrote an article on me. And they said, actor awareness will be nothing more than just a hashtag. That's all you'll be. And I was like...
That's what they said. That's what they wrote an article about?
Yeah.
So being very unsupportive. Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I was like, okay. I loved that at the end of the day. I was going to call it a day. I was like, that was the final nail in my coffin. I was like, that's it. I'm done with acting. I'm done. I'm fed up of this. Every single door that I try and open a little bit just gets slammed in my face. I'm done. And I was, but then I let it simmer for a week, and I was like, no, there's so many people telling me no. I'm going to go yes for once. So I started up Actor Awareness, and I met in the old Phoenix Artists Club in Soho. I got about 50 people down there. I was like, if you feel the same, come on, let's have a chat. So we all went down there, about 50 of us, and we just had a chat. I was just like, what? Let's do something about this. That the industry is dominated by these middle classes, and these doors are just shut off for people like us. So I said, let's do something about it. And we all brainstormed different ideas, and I heard about these scratch nights, which is all these new writing nights that are popping up over London. They were a little bit back then. They weren't that fashionable as they were now. But I heard about them, and I was like, okay.
So was it where people could just submit pieces of writing?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, basically. Like little 15, 20-minute short pieces of writing, and that's it. And I was like, I like that. That means that I can create a community of people, of not just actors, but writers, directors, and things like that. So I was like, let's do that. So I got in contact with the Canal Cafe up in North London, and I was like, I want to do one of these new writing nights, but I want to do it a little bit differently. So I've seen these new writing nights before, and they're all just writing about love and fear and things like that. And I was like, that's not really delving too much into the kind of artistic mind there, and I don't think you're going to make too much of a change with that. So I was sole purpose of setting up these scratch nights was to make a change. So I said, well, why don't we tackle minorities in the industry? Why don't we start putting these scratch night themes as we're tackling mental health, we're tackling race, we're tackling gender, we're tackling class? Because I was fed up of when we talk about equality and diversity in the industry, we've got all those protected categories of gender, disability, sexuality, and all that sort of stuff. But when you talk about the subject of class, that's not brought up. That's a taboo. People don't like talking about class, and I wanted to kind of
really. Do you think?
Yeah. If I found it all through. For example, if I went to the Arts Council to get funding for this when it first started, and they were like, no, don't like talking about class. Don't like you can't use the word class in your pitch. That is what they said to me.
Right.
And I was like, right, okay. And it just came more and more predominant as I went on with Actor Awareness as a journey. And I wanted to kind of bring the forefront of class up. And this was when...
Were you shocked when they said that?
Yeah, because I was just like, what? Like, that it is 100% something that needs to be talked about, but they shut me down straight away. And I didn't understand why. Because it was just coming to the forefront. I think it was Helen Mirren had just spoke at the BAFTAs or something like that. For the first time, a public person who I'd heard about speak about the issue of class in the industry. And that really spoke to me. And I was like, well, if Helen Mirren can talk about it and not get shut down, I can do it. And then that was a catalyst, because then I started talking about it, but then also people like Julie Walters started coming out of the woodwork, and James McAvoy, and they all started talking about how they wouldn't be able to afford drama school if they were in the industry now. And I was like, so this is an issue. I've been right. I've been doing this for like 6 months, and I was like, I'm right. I'm completely right. And how dare the Arts Council shut me down and say that that's not an issue? So I was like, let's set these scratch nights up. So I set the issue of class up. I said the theme is class. And I just put a social media post out, and I said, I just want 15-minute bits of writing under the theme of class. It can be your own interpretation, but I want it to be about class.
Yeah.
And I want to bring this conversation to the forefront of the industry because it needs to be spoken about. And we did. We had like a little wonderful 70-seater theatre. And I picked 4 shows, and it was a wonderful night. It was wonderful. And we got rave reviews about it. It was a really good night. Everyone was really taken to it and was like, thank God you're...
And people were starting to speak about it.
Yeah,
the word was getting out.
Yeah. So then we were like, okay, what's the next issue we can tackle? And we were like, well, it's a very male-dominated industry. Let's do something for the women. So we set up Women's Night, which was only women directors and writers. And that went down even better than the class night. Like, the women were just flocking in. We had like 70 submissions for this one. And they were like, thank God you're talking about, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And they were sending all the submissions in, and we did it again, sold it out again. And it was wonderful. And word was finally getting out about us. So then we had contact with The Guardian. The Guardian contacted us. ITV News contacted us. BBC Radio 5 Live. All of those kind of places started hearing about our work.
When you say our work, who else was on board now? Because this was something that you started.
So it was me at this point. But about a year later, I've got my producer, Stephanie Perry. Actor was becoming quite big now, and people were like always asking me, how can I help? But it was like my little baby, and I was fed up of people letting me down.
Of course.
So I was just like, I'm just going to do it myself. I'll do it myself. I don't need anyone's help, because I'm fed up of people letting me down all the time, and I won't let myself down, so I'll just do it myself. But it came to a point where I wanted to release a newsletter. I wanted to kind of give something back to the followers that had been following from day one.
And obviously been so supportive.
Of course, yeah. And we wouldn't be where we are now without them. So I wanted to kind of do something, give something back. I couldn't do a lot, because obviously I hadn't got a lot of money myself, and I hadn't got that many contacts. But the contacts I did have, I could use in a good way. So I had contacts with theatres and stuff. So what I do is release a newsletter every month, Write about what's going on in the industry, keep people up to date, kind of do what the stage do, but offer discounts. So we'd offer discounts for shows, like fringe shows, get people, help them promote. So if you had a show, fine, we'll put it in the newsletter, we'll put it in there, and if you give us a little, like 10% discount for Actor Awareness supporters, we'll get you people in your theatre to watch it. And people loved it. We were giving like headshot discounts, showreel discounts, just little bits to kind of help people. For this actor's start kit that's so expensive to kind of accumulate with the spotlight fee, headshots and showreel, and trying to get people watching theatre. So Steph, I'd just done a scratch night with Steph. She got in contact with me, and she wanted to do the newsletter, and I was like, okay, you can do it, but I didn't tell her. I said you can do it, but I didn't give her any instruction. I just said, just go and do it. And I thought this would be a test to see if she'll do it or not, without me pushing it, because I'm fed up of pushing people. And she did it. In about 3 weeks, she came back and she's like, there's your newsletter. I was like, oh, you haven't let me down. So I was like, okay, do you want to do, let's see how this goes. I was like, can you do me another one? She's like, yeah. And she just kept doing it and doing it and doing it, because she'd been writing for my scratch nights as well, so that's how I knew her. And as the trust went on and more and more and more, I was like, she wanted to kind of help me do more with Actor Awareness as we kept getting bigger and bigger, with the scratch nights and stuff like that. I think I was in a bit of a predicament. I think I was busy for one of the scratch nights, and I was like, look, the only person that I can trust at the moment in terms of like who knows what Actor Awareness is doing, will you run the night for me? And she was like, yeah. And it went down to success. So I was like, how about you? Because I wanted to do other projects. I wanted to step in Manchester. I wanted to do all the other stuff as well. And the documentary had started and all that sort of stuff. So I was like, I did need help. It was beyond me doing it by myself anymore. I needed help, and she was the closest person who would not let me down, who could do it. So I said, do you want to run the scratch nights? Do you want to kind of, she was a writer herself, and she was like, yeah, I think I'd like to do that. So she did it, and she started picking all the shows for me. She started reading all the submissions through, picking the best 4 shows, and we kind of run the scratch nights like that.
And was she still running things by you, or were you giving her like total responsibility?
She still run things by me.
Yeah.
Now she's at the point where she can just do what she wants,
in
terms of I trust her judgment on a lot of things. But yeah, it's about easing that person into that sort of thing that I've know inside out. And now she runs them amazingly. And as we got a bigger and bigger reputation with our scratch nights, Spotlight came on board and picked us up. I was very angry at Spotlight in terms of, I think they're a bit of a closed shop sometimes. So in terms of this £150 fee that you have to pay slap out all at once, I've always been a pioneer. They have to split it up into monthly payments, which they have done now. And now I wrote them an email. I was like, can we just meet? I just want to tell you how I can help you. And they're like, yeah, fine, come in. I was like, okay, that was easy. And we met in... And
a door open, not a door closed.
Exactly. And they wanted to know more about the scratch nights. And they were... and I was like, I'm doing all this for free. And yes, people are getting good stuff out of it. And we are tackling issues and we are getting publicity. But we need to take that next step. Because we're doing these fringe venues on like the edges of London, and it's really hard to kind of get people up there or down there, and it was hard. And they were like, we'll just use her. I was like, what? They were like, yeah, they're just undergone a refurb, and they were like, yeah, we've got like a little stage that you can just use. We'll give it to you, and we'll how much money are you talking that you need? And I went out with a ridiculous number, and they were like, no. Let's pay a little. They can pay a little bit, your actors. So I pay them like 30 quid each. Just kind of for their time for doing these 15-minute performances,
right?
And they were like, and I was like, brilliant. We've taken that next step. We're now sponsored by Spotlight. We do our scratch nights in the middle of the West End, and we can now put these people, these wonderful, wonderful pieces of new writing, these wonderful new bits of talent who would not normally have the chance. put in front of industry professionals that like casting directors and agents, and which is what they need, which is what I want to kind of rival the drama school process in terms of you don't have to go to drama school. I want to create the route of if you don't go to drama school, what's the option? What is your option to do? There isn't many options, but I want Actor Awareness to kind of be that option. You can come be in one of our scratch nights, and that end of year, third year show that you'll do after 3 years of training, well, I'll give it to you here in the middle of the West End, and I'll pay you for it.
Do you charge people to come into the scratch nights?
So it's half and half. Spotlight members go free. That's part of the agreement that we have with Spotlight, and the other people pay £8. If you're a non-Spotlight member, it's £8 for that. But that's just to kind of help us cover our budget of everything. So no one makes a profit out of this. This is just to pay Steph 60 quid for kind of reading through pay for her time. Pay me 60 quid that day to kind of organising it all, and that's it. And then the rest of it goes into well, there isn't the rest of it, because that's it.
Tom, I think what you're doing is incredible.
Thank
you. You feel like you're really making a change and you're on the right path now.
Yes, definitely, 100%. And I think with Actor Awareness, we are at that point now where we are making change, because from those scratch nights, we've had full-length shows come out of it, and now touring London Fringe venues, Manchester, we've got that. We've got the documentary that's come out of it. We've got loads of amazing projects that's come out from just one angry man that's had many doors shut in his face.
Tom, where can people find out more about Actor Awareness?
So we've got our Twitter and Facebook, which is @Actor Awareness. You can go on our website, which is www.actorawareness.co.uk. And yeah, just follow it all in there.
Tom, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, man.
Thank you, mate.
And there we have it. Episode 31 is done. Massive thanks to Tom for giving up his time and being so honest and open about his struggles and, you know, his success. He seems in a good place. He seems really happy. And me and Griff here, we just wish him all the best. So do go check out Actors Awareness and now Writers Awareness. Go join them on social media, see what they're up to, and if it's for you, go down and support. Well, we're done. We shall see you next week for episode 32. You have a brilliant week, and thank you again for joining us. Take care, won't you? I've been Craig Parkinson. He's been producer Griff, and this has been the Two Shot Podcast. The Two Shot Podcast is presented by me, Craig Parkinson, recorded and produced by Thomas Griffin for Splicing Block. Our brilliant music is courtesy of Then Thickens. Cheers.